Okay, third grade. Today we are going to start decorating our foreground for our James Rizzi project. It's a project that we started doing before we took a break and worked on our clay projects for a while. And now we're back. We needed time to print them off so that we had them the right size to build our sculpture cityscape. So today we're working on the foreground. This video is for anybody that did the road. If you are somebody that did the sea, you're going to want to watch the other video because it's for the sea. This one is for vehicles on the road, and you chose to do a roadway for the foreground of your cityscape. Before we start decorating or coloring, because we won't be putting this together today, we need to know whose pieces these are. So before you start, please write your first name, your last name, and your class code. If you do not remember your class code, it is on the board in front of the classroom. You're going to notice right away up towards the top, we have dark gray. We want to remove that because the foreground doesn't have the background. The background will be the buildings and the sky behind it. So we're actually not going to see any of the sky in this picture. This is just going to be the foreground. So you'll need to take a scissors and you need to cut away all of the gray, and for some of you that means going around any vehicles that go above the road line, above your horizon line. So this one has 2 vehicles, so you need to make sure that you're going around the cars. You're done. You can grab all your scraps and you can take it to the recycling bin. Before we start coloring, because we're learning about James Rizzi, who is a pop artist, we want to make sure that we're outlining everything we drew with a nice, thick, heavy outline. So we'll actually be using a Sharpie for this step. And please make sure that you are grabbing a piece of paper from over by the sinks so that we're keeping the Sharpie off of the tables. My biggest tip for you for outlining would be don't try to push a line because it'll get wavy. Instead, start away from you and pull the line towards you, and you're going to get a darker, thicker, and more steady straight line. So when I go to outline this, any of my lines that are straight, I want to start away from me, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it towards my body, and that's really going to help me get straight lines. So if you need to rotate your paper, you can turn your paper, start away from you, and pull it towards you. So that's my biggest tip when outlining. Please remember, we can't outline, or we cannot erase Sharpie, so any mistakes are going to be there. You'll just have to try covering them up with colored pencil later. Remember, the outline is the most important part of knowing what the object is that you drew, so please do not rush through this process. Take your time. You're going to get 2 full days to do this, to not only outline it and cut it and color it, but also to paint the background of the road black, so that we're not taking a long amount of time to use black for everything. Okay, before you start coloring, make sure that you outline anything that went above the horizon line. And actually, looking at this now, it might even be a great idea to even outline where the horizon line is. Where does the earth meet the sky? So I would even say, let's define where the road stops. So I'm actually going to go ahead and outline just the top. I want people to know exactly where the road stops. I'm not concerned about the bottom or the sides so much, but I definitely want them to know this is where the road ends and this is where the tops of my cars go. So double check that before you start coloring. We are not learning about a specific color harmony for this project. However, if you want to use one of our harmony spin wheels, you definitely can. They'll be located over in between the sinks at your table spots. One color that I would obviously stay away from as much as possible is going to be black. And we want to stay away from black because we know that we're going to be painting with watercolor paint the road black. So try to stay brighter colors because we know we're going to be using such a dark color for our road. If we paint our road black and our cars brown and dark purples and dark blues, it's all going to blend together. Plus, remember, pop artists, they love to use bright colors. They love to use colors right out of the paint can. They don't like to do a lot of mixing along with their black outline. So try to go ahead and stay on the lighter side. Anything that you want white, remember, we actually want to go ahead and color it white, just like we did with our clay project. Just in case you get black paint on a white spot, the paint should sit on top of the wax and you should be able to wipe it off with either a paper towel or your finger. So for the rest of the time, you'll go ahead and you'll color all of your items and then after that we'll talk about painting. Okay, third grade, once you are all done coloring, before you grab out the paint and start painting, just go ahead, double check a few things. The better job you do of coloring in your objects, whether you're a back and forth colorer or a circle colorer, remember going over that a couple more times is just going to make your colors brighter, and it's going to fill in as much of the white paper as possible. Anything that is not covered with the waxy surface from colored pencils is going to turn whatever color the paint is around it, and you won't be able to wipe it off. So by having more of the wax from the colored pencil, if you accidentally get paint on it, you should be able to wipe it off with your finger or a paper towel. The biggest one is the white. Double check, make sure that it's not just white paper. Make sure that you put down as much white colored pencil as possible. Once you're all set, you can go over to the sink. You can grab a blue container for your water and a paintbrush. On the inside of the bucket, there are numbers. On one side, it goes 4, 8, 12, 16. On the other side, it goes 100, 200, 300, 400. You just need to fill it up to the 100 or the 4, depending on what side you're looking at. We don't need to be filling these cups up with water all the way to the top. All that's going to happen is we're going to spill walking or dump them when they're on the table. And with that much water, it's going to not only get all over your picture, but over everybody else's at your table. So please only go to the 4. If you're looking at the other side, just go to the mark that says 100. Back and forth at the sinks at all, changing out our brush water or our paint water. Remember, in order for these paints to work, we do want our brush to be wet, so don't wipe the water off. We can use all the water on our brush. If you just go back and forth once or twice, again, the color is going to be very, very light. It doesn't even look black. It looks kind of dirty grayish. So we want to make sure that we are loading up the brush with paint. I like to go around once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That way you get a nice dark paint color, and we want the road to be black. So you'll just lift and pull, lift and pull. Again, we want to try to stay off of our cars, but if by accident you get on it, the nice part about the wax is we can wipe it off, kind of like a little eraser, and then keep moving forward. So we don't want to intentionally go over our drawing, but if you do by accident, it should wipe off depending on how much wax is on the paper from when you were coloring with colored pencil. Again, don't feel like you need to rush. Our schedule allows for 2 days for each piece. So you'll get 2 days to work on your foreground, 2 days to work on your middle ground, and 2 days to work on your background, depending on how much detail you put in. Some might take longer, some might take less, but 2 days should be about the most amount of time that it should take for either one of those 3. Okay, 3rd grade, once you are all done painting, you can go ahead and you can grab your foreground. Again, double check, make sure your first name, last name, and code are on it. And you can take your foreground and you can set it in the drying rack for today. If there's still time left in class, please go ahead and grab your middle ground, which are going to be your skyscrapers, and start watching the middle ground video.